Hello, Cosmic Explorers, and welcome to your Friday night tune-up. I'm your co-creator, Hillis, Pugh, along with our amazing, fabulous co-creatrix, guest co-creatrix, Megan. So welcome, everyone.
Hello, Hillis.
So, Megan, how's your week been? Because, we've had a very interesting discussion this week, haven't we?
Yeah, we have My week has been restful. I'm,
Ooh.
yeah, I'm on my moon, and so my energy body has been calling for some extra rest, and so it's been work, snooze. It's been kind of lovely.
I,
I don't get that a
I
lot. So.
Yeah, I think that our word is going around a lot rest because a lot of people need rest, and I was kind of forced to rest because I've been a little sick the past 2 days, and when I get sick, it usually doesn't stick around. It's like I get sick and then I'm done. But what was interesting about me being sick while I'm doing this data is that viruses have a personality,
Hmm.
and they're so aggressive, the energy of that. And so what was coming to me is like we really take on the energy of that virus. I mean, they take on their personality. We become bitchy and mean and irritable, and people say, "Oh, forgive me, I'm sorry, that wasn't me talking." I'm like, I'm starting to believe that more and more now.
Yeah, viruses are super parasitic, right? Like you can't even technically consider viruses living entities on their own because they need a source. They need to be pulling from something. Um, but yeah, viruses are really interesting. And when you said that you wanted to be chatting about this, I immediately had this dual sort of sensation about viruses because there was this more sort of ominous, and then there was a counter where I was like, or like they are in a rush to really work well together. So
Yeah, I mean they're aggressive for sure, but yeah, it's interesting because there's this aspect where you want to create harmony with this. You want to, because it's a living entity. Being people who do the work that we do, we see the value in life and everything. But some things that I have come to realize just can't be reasoned with. Because it gets to a point of like, well, damn, that didn't work, or well, damn, okay, you just really, very super aggressive, and you just want to take over. Okay, well, I can't let that happen. So, which is why we go through this down period of when anyone gets sick or when anyone gets ill. We go through this period of rest to allow for the body to man up, if you will, to get the reinforcements. It's like, look, we need you not to do anything. We're gonna do what we're gonna do, because what I found interesting in my past 2 days of being sick is I found myself saying, I am medicine. I am medicine. And
Mhm.
using a particular sound frequency has really it, you know, has really assisted in the space of me being well, to understand all of this. And the fascinating aspect of it is that, yeah, I can co-create with you, I can harmonize with you, but I don't have to live with you.
Yeah. So I'm having all these things go through my mind about protecting the spirit through interacting with viruses, because you do become at a bit of an internal war, right, with
Oh
whatever
yeah.
that virus is. And so, like, how do we better arm ourselves against the healing of working through viruses by also spiritually arming ourselves and commanding our bodies? I am medicine. You are in me, but not of me, and I will not let you become of me. Like, there's the power of word, the power of belief. Like, maybe that there's a whole aspect of healing that maybe many of us might forget to keep in mind when dealing with things like viruses, because they're super, they're super penetrative. They can be hard to beat.
Yeah, they can be very persistent, especially if the body isn't well taken care of, if the body is more receptive, or sometimes we may not know of their existence until it's like, oh wait, this is happening. So it kind of brings me to this other aspect, which was fascinating in itself, is the pharmaceuticals, the medication that we are given to treat one thing versus another, and how we take on the energy of that pharmaceutical,
Mm.
how we take on that personality, because it's come from somewhere too. And so we either take that energy on through our belief system, or we don't have that aspect of ourselves coming through. Excuse me. And so I guess that's kind of like confirmation. I don't take pharmaceuticals, but there's that piece of it, because it's like kind of alters our personality of who we truly are.
Certainly. And also, this is funny, this is coming up because I was talking about this with one of my medicine brothers just yesterday or the day before. But also, if we know what we know about medicines, and like the land that it's from matters, and the hand that cultivates it matters, and the hand that makes the medicine matters, the hand that serves the medicine matters.
Yeah.
What does that mean for pharmaceuticals created in a lab by some schmo whose energy, body, and we don't know anything about them,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
their them.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, exactly.
so I don't see it, if I'm going to apply that to ayahuasca brew or rosemary tea, then I have to apply that to everything we consider a medicine made by a hand. And so certainly that aspect comes into play as well. Now, not only is it the pharmaceutical in you bringing and altering to your person, it's the energy of the person that made the pharmaceutical.
I never thought about that, but yeah, it's so true, because I mean, I remember when I was, doing, my medicine journey, one day, for 6 hours, and when just me being in and out of it, I didn't want anyone touching anything. It's like if I'm gonna handle it, I'm going to be the one touching it, not you. And mind you, I've had full respect for my shaman, my sisters, my brothers, but like, do not touch me. Do
Yeah.
not touch anything, because I am still in this sensitive space of energy. And so yeah, that makes perfect sense in how you know we don't know the clean rooms or the process of which anything undergoes. It's all cold and sterile, but not just the energy aspect of it, but what is it taking away from us? What is it shutting down in us? So that way our body isn't able to fully respond to the viruses or the parasitics or any of the pathogens that are floating around in our field and in our body. So it's like, it kind of makes you wonder, what's the purpose of it all, if we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Because I remember growing up as a kid, I was always told to go play outside in the dirt, get dirty. That's how we built up our immune system. Go play with the dog, or go. And I'm like, what? And so nowadays, it's like everything is super sterile. So you don't have that natural buildup to for the resistance of everything, you know?
I did grow up in that way as well. I did a lot of outdoor playing and getting very muddy and very dirty, and I was definitely always an earth. I'm an earth person for sure. So I was always playing in the dirt. Um, but I also grew up as like a fairly sick child, and I go through this sort of ear, nose, and throat thing through most of my adolescence that has me filtering between like ear infections and sinusitis and strep throat. So I take quite a bit of antibiotics throughout my life, and
Mm.
I can totally look back and I've thought about this and I've sat with this and thought about the times where I was in a period where, what age was that where it was really prominent, and I can totally see the ramifications of all of the medicine and even see ways that I was taken out of myself. And I also went through this experience when I was well into my medicine path and spiritual journey, where I did have a hospital stay for 4 days and had an infection in my abdomen that had me on surgery watch, and I got an absolutely obscene amount of antibiotics, and I totally felt that in my body for a really long time. Totally
Yeah.
felt that in my mind for a really long time. So it's a double-edged sword. Very grateful. Had my this infection I had was serious enough that thank God Western medicine exists and an acute
Yeah.
emergency situation, but it does play with our system in really many ways.
Yeah, I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I appreciate the pharmaceuticals for what the potentials are and how they could assist in rapid healing for the body. And that's because, part of me wants to say, well, that's because we were believed and conditioned to do that. Here we take this pill and this pill is going to solve all your problems, but then there's this whole placebo thing. It's like, well, do you believe that it will work? So like, yeah, I believe it will work. And so
Yeah.
there's that piece. But it's just interesting in how we are on this journey of really understanding, okay, the path of the virus and entity of being that is come to here, just like uh, the amoeba who has this energy of it could be this or it could be that. It could be whatever it wants to be. This master shapeshifter. And so, in that regard, you have to pause and say and have a conversation with it. And I think that's with everything. We have to have a conversation with what's going on in here. Okay, it's like, are you here to help me or hurt me? And,
Yeah.
and, and just ask simple questions. And so if you're here to help me, how are you helping me? What is the lesson in it? So if you're here to hurt me, and why are you here to hurt me? What is the lesson in that? And so, you know, and just a few moments before we got on tonight, we talked about, the space of remembering, which is something that I always talk about on the show, and helping us to remember who we are. And everything is to help us remember our truth, remember our power, remember all these things about us, remember all these things about self. And so, whether if we were, have cancer or were beaten up and bullied or any of these aspects about our life, you know, at the end of the day, and they are to help us to remember who we are, to trigger something in us, for us to remember your power, your strength, your tenacity, your courage, your confidence, your strength, your will, all these things that we look to and look for, they help us to remember that.
Well, so viruses, right? Viruses, I'm thinking of what you're saying in like a relation to viruses, and viruses play a role in the evolution of humankind, consciousness, very much so, right? So,
Yeah.
like, how would you say that viruses best help us remember?
It honestly shows us, and as me being on this journey for 5 months now, it's really helping us to really look to see where the medicine is, to really look to see, the medicine in the sunlight, which I need more of. I don't get enough sun.
Hmm.
Helps us to remember the medicine in nature because we've gotten so bogged down in the minutia of every day of quick fixes, because that's what it is, the quick fixes of life, that we forget that of our own ability to trust in the body, to trust in this magnificent machine being called the body. And that's what I'm learning is really how to, utilize frequency, how to utilize sound, how to utilize the energy that is me, to utilize the energy around me to really remember how I can really best nurture myself, how to heal myself, and really listen when my body is tired. And so, yeah, they play an important role because we innately have the ability to heal. We've just forgotten how to do that. So, viruses, they help us to remember you can heal yourself if you believe. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think my belief is that strong. I'll just take a pill.
Every once in a while, you need to humble yourself. Like right now, no, I don't believe hard. Give me that change.
Right? But then it's like, how do you say that to a person, who has congestive heart failure or kidney disease or cancer? How do you say something like that to them? You can't.
Yeah.
There's no way to really put it, but the people have to really believe in it themselves. I mean, and it's all about total surrender. Wouldn't you say so? It's about total surrender of what it is, a surrender of this internal battle that's going on.
Certainly. I mean, that's what energetically a component of viruses and cancers is it becomes, what we would label as bad cells versus good cells. We have this war going on. And so I've read many things and listened to many lectures that would say, where is the war inside? Energetically, emotionally, how do you subside that? And how do you get the cells to talk nice to themselves again? And I think that there's certainly power there. Maybe that's
Yeah.
another beautiful way that something like viruses help us remember. Maybe they help us remember that how we talk to ourselves matters on a deep cellular level. It's really important.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it goes back to the simple I am statements, just like one of the things I talked about is, for me to get through the past couple of days of me being sick, with this whatever tiny flu, it's like I am medicine. I
Yeah.
am medicine. I am medicine. And how that shows up is different. Maybe there's something activated in my body, in my energy field to say, okay, well, time for the medicine to kick in. Or maybe there's, something that is being delivered to me through the field. It's like, here, this is what you need, whether it's a herb, medicine, or something. I mean, so we just have to allow for whatever shows up to show up in our field, whether it's internally or externally. And there are those who hardcore believe, say, no, I would never take Western medicine. Like, well, in some cases you probably have to, depending on how severe things could get. I've never been a proponent to, not have Western medicine, but I've always been one to prefer more the natural way first. It's like, well, shit, this ain't working. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of it too. We've gotten so used to the quick fixes and temporary fixes, and some people want something more lasting, more permanent, and that's is in here. The permanent stuff isn't outside of you. The permanent stuff is inside.
Well, anytime, right? Like, anytime you're going to try to change something with your mind, it's going to take a moment, generally. Like, for example, many of us love Dr. Joe Dispenza's story where he has this super traumatic triathlon accident, and essentially his spine is injured. He refuses the Western conventional approach, and essentially meditates his way back into health. It took him months. It took him months to do that, right? Because like we're going to the deepest cellular, smallest levels of ourselves. Every mitochondria, every neutrino, right, which is the space contained in our body, we have to now train ourselves to know and feel as different, as healthy, as vibrant, as medicine. And that takes some time for the average bear.
Yeah, which is why when I do, I'm so open talking about this on the show, but when I do mushroom journeys, that's what I'm in the process of doing, is learning on the smallest scale of every cell, and really listening to the
Yeah.
body, literally listening to the internal space within me, to the different frequencies, to the different vibrations, the different tunes that sing.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get to a point where I can just put in some earplugs and listen to my body without having to be on mushrooms. I'm going to get there
Mm-hmm.
and be able to do this with everyone, because there's a couple of people who are uh what's the guy's name, the one that the food medium, I can't think of his name, the medical medium, that guy, and someone else that does it too, that they can listen to the body and then prescribe certain foods.
Mm-hmm.
I love people that can do that. And I've got to a point where I can put my hand on somebody's chest and feel what's going on in their body.
Mm.
And I think it was maybe about a week or two ago, I was listening to my heartbeat and I felt something was off. I'm like, something's not right. Something's off here. And so what I helped to correct that energy. And so as I say that, my muscle starts to spasm. It's like, yep, confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about, I guess, ultimately what I'm saying here is that no matter what's going on internally, there's always a reason for it. It's always to put us into the space of remembering, because we live on this planet and have great contrast. And now the time of contrast is just about done. And when we move out of living in contrast, we can really move into the energy of living in joy. We can move into the space of really truly understanding what is meant for me. We can really move into the space of, oh, I get it. Oh, I understand it. This is what's happening. This is what's emerging. This is all these beautiful things. And so it's really a wonder to see this, to feel this, to know how we allow ourselves to begin to remember who we are through the energy of contrast. But when contrast doesn't serve us, there's the energy of love and joy to take us even further.
I have this sensation that now this we have the positive side of things that we can potentially learn from viruses, which is
Yeah.
that, right, a virus cell shifts, becomes different, and then is basically taking other cells to rapidly copy itself, and it starts
Yeah.
to take over. Now,
Yeah.
the positive side is those abnormal cells are now working really well together. They're doing a great job. They're really staying in alignment. They're a team. It's not us versus them anymore. It's just we got this. And we know we're going to have this common aim, and we know it's going to be great. And so the problem is that they're just repeating the same problematic thing over and over again, which I think is where that plan veers right. But I love that like takes us into maybe some of the positive ways that viruses help move us forward, and just to bring the positive side of everything, which does exist, I think we could learn a lot from unity. The future
Yeah.
is unified, right? uh Not with the aim of creating the same truth over and over again for everybody, but with the aim of allowing us all to be safe to create our unique and individual truths, knowing that our brothers and sisters and whatever else we would like to encapsulate within is not going to, violate what's our version of truth.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. It's interesting how we have to allow for this state and space of remembering, and no matter how it comes to us, it's how, it manifests. Because as we think about it, and one of the things that I'm being reminded to touch on again, and we talked at the beginning of the show, is how, viruses and some pharmaceuticals affect our mood, affect our personalities. And so, in that in itself is the energy of shapeshifting, and how we take on this energy, how we become this internalized entity, this internalized being through that space to say, well, you know what, you're not going to take me out. I'm here to stay, or whatever. We become all moody and mean and bitchy and whatnot. But then we know it's like, wait, that's not me. And so, it's just a reminder, when we are in that space, just allow for you, your soul, to honor and recognize what that is for you, and then move beyond that, move into a better feeling space about who you are and what you do, and how this shows up for you, because it shows up differently for everybody. It's how life is. It's how we move through the flow, if you will. One day the flow can be nice and easy. The next day this flow can be fast and a rough current. And then next day it could be a good mix of both. And that's the balance. And I feel like this remembering that we are experiencing is about having balance in what we are not just creating for ourselves, but for humanity as well.
Mm. Hmm. And resilience. Another thing we
Yeah.
can take from viruses, they're super resilient.
Yeah, just when you think it's done, I'm like, yeah, I've been drinking all the orange juice in the house. I've had
Hmm.
popped all my vitamin C pills. I did my echinacea. I
Hmm.
did my immunity tea, and you're still not leaving? What the heck?
I was obviously, we've all just lived through a big virus. Not that we're not always constantly living through big viruses, but I've been, I am riveted by staying tuned to see what the role of coronavirus is going to be for. Yeah, I mean, it has to be playing its role in the shift that we're going through now, of
Oh, yeah.
course, right? And also just on a physical level, like I had such an interesting experience with coronavirus, with the smell and taste in particular. It was pretty chill. It was pretty minimal, except for I lost my smell and my taste November 28th of 2020. And
Wow.
I just elocuted this to a friend of mine saying, I think I might have finally got back to full pre-COVID smell. Because there's been a few things recently that have come up that I've been like, ooh, you smell like I remember you to smell again, which has not happened. And so, like, I'm so curious about what that component, particularly the playing with the taste and the smell, what does that mean for us long term going forward? Like, Is it the beginning of a superpower? Is it the loss of a superpower? I can't wait to see it unfold.
I don't know, but my hearing through this process has gotten better. My and I guess it's mostly because I'm learning how to hear internally inside the body. So maybe and I've always been clairaudient, so maybe that's why my hearing has always been super good, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And probably over the years I did lose my scent of smell from working at Victoria's Secret selling fragrances all day long.
That's a potent one. Yeah, I'll do it.
That could be the culprit and playing the role in all of this, but who knows? Who really knows, right? You know. But with that being said, I'm kind of tired from this cold. I want to do the tune-up, but it's like, yeah, I don't know if I have the full energy for that.
Okay.
So
Do you want me to do like a tune-up? I don't have anything in mind per se, but
neither do I. It always flows. So the floor is yours, my dear.
okay. All right. Well, I think it's always nice to start by closing the eyes if that feels safe for you. And if not, at least letting them get nice and heavy, letting any tension that rests in the forehead, the third eye, the eyes just melt, melt down the cheeks, loosening the jaw, and just taking a moment to play with our energy field awareness practice. So this just entails letting that awareness game slowly turn deeper inward and checking in with all of the planes of yourself, your physical body, your mental body, your astral, spiritual, emotional, and not holding anything tightly, not holding whatever you find on those other planes or what you find in your breath, just letting everything come and go. And can you tune into the space just beyond your ears, left side, right side? What do you feel? Do you hear anything? Letting the breath come and letting the breath go. And now can you tune into the space in the center of the ears, right at the midpoint of the brain, of the entire skull, in space. And as you start to feel that center point of the brain, maybe you can start to imagine a glowing golden light radiating in space from the center of your head. And does that shift how you feel? Does that shift what you hear? And as that light continues to radiate outward, can you shift your awareness and your perception to the space right beyond your shoulders, in space. Not leaving the breath behind, taking it on this journey within. And feeling the space between your shoulders and the room around you. And now, can you take that awareness and shift from right outside of the shoulders to the point right in the middle of the shoulders, behind the breastbone, the jeweled cave of your heart. Now, does that shift how you feel? Does that shift what you hear? And as your breath becomes more full, more expansive in all directions around you, let it pull inward to that spot in between the shoulders, behind the breastbone, right at the heart. Ratsut ketai matunai satune. Sefai. Alunatsunai feminitsune aktukei sinatwai. Bituratsai na tukano atuke. Sunai. Maite. Maite misunat ratukai. Bitunei sinuatuan. Zanuet witetukai na. Misune sefinume alat. Sefinume aktune. Starting to bring your awareness back to the heart. Back to the head. Letting the breath slowly but surely be your companion. And taking another couple of moments to finalize with that EFAP, that energy field awareness practice. Again, letting all of the planes of self reveal themselves to you. Physical, mental, astral, spiritual, emotional. Where have you shifted? Where did your mind wind up after taking that small journey? What feels different? And what can you bring into your evening to best support where you ended that journey? And we thank you, Divine Spirit, for this moment of clarity, for another week of experiences of understanding, of overstanding, and the multitude of opportunities to become anew. Thank you. Aho.
Aho Mataki Ase.
Mm.
Thank you for that. That was so beautiful.
Thank you. That felt lovely.
It was lovely.
Mm.
Until
That was
next
brought
week.
to you by the fossil egg.
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone, just remember to take care of yourself in the coming weeks ahead. Remember where this journey has left you. Remember who you are. Remember you are your body. Remember you are in charge of your body. That you are the medicine. That you are all that you ever require in that space. That is you. Until next week, everyone. In the words of Rebecka Gregory, don't limit yourself. Create yourself. Be the change in you.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.